Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it.
Australia went 96 for 5 and Pakistan had the locker sealed, but they forgot the keys for Matthew Wade and Stoinis to open the locker and take the match away from Pakistan. I have a very smiling and happy Shane Watson, who had predicted that Australia will have the final say. Welcome to the show, Shane.
Anis, thank you. Yes, I am. I've got a big smile on my face.
I can see that. I can see that. So tell me, Watto, what a match we've had. Second semi-final in a row. Tremendous game of cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Last night's game, it just followed a similar sort of trend to the England and New Zealand game, which are just two great games of cricket. Yes, for the Australians, they weren't exactly on. They weren't too bad with the ball. It wasn't absolutely their best night. Adam Zampa was outstanding again. To go for 22 against world-class players, the spin was absolutely outstanding. And then from a batting perspective, to be able to try and negate Shane Watson, and it didn't start well. Aaron Finch going in the first over, but just the testament to where the Aussie guys were at with their batting, with their just taking the game on. It was a really nice wicket in Dubai, which meant that the guys could take it on, and they just played fire with fire. Dave Warner batted brilliantly to get 49 as a sort of contentious way to get out in the end, even though obviously he thought he hit it, and Rizwan and Shadab thought he hit it as well. And there was a noise on stump mic, as in you could hear it, but there was no snicko on it. And then Mitch Marsh's innings can't be underrated either, because he came in and really just went at, after losing a wicket early, coming in with Shane Watson going full steam, to be able to come out and really just take the game on was absolutely brilliant, and exactly what the Australians needed to be able to try and fight fire with fire in a way. And yes, it seemed long gone. Like the other night with the Kiwis, it seemed like there's no way they're going to chase the runs down, especially at the halfway mark. It's like, the rate's getting too high. It's getting up to around 11s. But then Marcus Stoinis, he's got great memories of playing in Dubai for Delhi. He's played a couple of incredible innings, especially at the back end of a game for Delhi to get them across the line a few times. So he obviously just tapped into that and batted incredibly well to set the platform when he came in. And then Matthew Wade, a new role he hasn't really done before. I didn't know he could do that. I'd seen him bat like that when he was opening the batting in the Big Bash, especially. He'd done that a few times for the Hobart Hurricanes. But to be able to do that under pressure, goodness me, was absolutely mind-blowing how good it was. And the premier fast bowler, bowling very fast, to commit to that lap shot. It takes a lot of guts to be able to commit to a lap shot with the ball coming down 150 Ks. And he did. So it was just, an incredible night to be a part of it. I was very nervous the whole way through, because for the first time since I've stopped playing, this is the first game that I really felt the similar sort of emotions in that of being on the field. And it was just an incredible game to be a part of. I feel very fortunate to have been there watching it and commentating on it.
All right. So let me now first come to the Pakistan batting, where you said Australia never let Pakistan off the hook. They had a sedate start. The power play was not so good. But after 10 overs, 70 for 1, do you think Pakistan, did they go defensively on a good batting wicket, or that's the way to go about?
Well, that's the way that Pakistan sort of set their innings, is just making sure they have wickets in hand. Babar Azam batted nicely. He didn't get away from the Australians at all. He got 39 off
33.
33. Yeah. So he didn't get away from the Australians, and neither did Rizwan in the end. Got 67 off 52 balls. Yes, he played some great shots, especially towards the end. And it took Rizwan probably up until around the 6th over to really get going. You could see his nervous energy. He was really hitting the ball, getting into the ball a bit too early and mishitting balls. But then once he found his range, he was outstanding. And then Fakhar Zaman, again, he took some time to get going. He was mishitting balls most balls early on in his innings. But then, goodness me, didn't he just explode? Some of those shots that he played off Mitchell Stark were absolutely incredible. So I just thought 176 was a really good score. It was going to be really hard for the Australians to chase down. I thought any score over 170 was going to be an incredible run chase, because they put pressure on the Aussies. They asked a lot of questions. They held their nerve, just having wickets in hand at the end, which is how they've sort of set up, and that's how their team's built. And they did a brilliant job. Fakhar Zaman came to the party and batted incredibly well. When the team needed, he'd post a very good total, and 176 was a great total. So the Aussies, I knew they were going to have to bat out of their skins to be able to chase those runs down.
Why I ask you this question, Watto? Because you had predicted that it's going to be a belter of a wicket. It was a good wicket. And when you get 39 of 33 balls, there have been talks that Pakistan were a bit defensive. Now, after getting 176, you might feel with no due, it was a very good score. But had it been due, was that a par score?
I think that was a slightly above par. I think like in a final, in a knockout game, in a semi-final, like to be able to get over 170 is a great effort. So there wasn't, in Dubai, there hasn't been a lot of due. Batting second has always been an advantage, and at 11 games, 10 games have won batting second. So there's an advantage batting second, even if there's not much due. For whatever reason, the wicket just slicks up a little bit. But I thought that was a really good total. Yes, you could look back at certain moments where Pakistan, they weren't defensive, but they didn't really go. But to be able to get 176 in a final, I thought was a brilliant effort, just to be able to piece it all together and put a lot of pressure on the Australian fast bowlers in particular.
All right. So now we come to one bowler of Australia. Obviously, you mentioned about the leggy Zampa being the standout bowler, but Josh Hazlewood had an off day.
Yeah, he did, which doesn't happen that often at all. It hasn't in recent times. He bowled nicely in the first power play, in the power play. I personally would have given Josh Hazlewood 2 overs in the power play, because he's been so dynamic in the power play. He's taken the most wickets for Australia in the power play in 2021 and also in this T20 World Cup. He only bowled 1 over in the power play, and Pat Cummins bowled 2 overs in the power play, which I thought was bizarre, because Pat Cummins in the power play he's got hurt quite often. He's been more powerful through the middle, where he's been able to sort of control the game a bit more. So there's a couple of tactical decisions that I questioned, even not bowling Mitchell Starc a second over. While the ball was still a chance to swing it, even if it was like 1 to 2 balls in the third over of the match, to be able to try and burst through Rizwan and Babar Azam. And then Josh Hazlewood bowling 1 in the power play, and then he bowling out of the power play in the death, and he just, unfortunately for him, he hasn't had an off day like that for quite a while. So the Australians going into the final is going to have to be a bit more tactically. I think it's got to be tactically better, just to pick your bowlers in the right times better, I think. And Josh Hazlewood has to bowl a minimum of 2 overs in the power play. He's a strike bowler. That's where he bowls his best. He doesn't go for many runs, and he takes wickets. And make sure Mitchell Starc's, if the ball's swinging, give the ball to him. Even if it's going to swing in the second over for 2 balls, 1 ball, doesn't matter. Give him a chance to be able to burst through the top order.
And you have to give credit to Glenn Maxwell and Mitchell Marsh, who bowled their 4 overs, for not going for plenty.
Yeah, they did a great job. And that fifth bowler was always, well, it was a bit of a question going into the tournament, but Glenn he's more than a part-timer. He's a skillful off spinner. I found it interesting why he bowled the third over to 2 right-handers. I thought that was bizarre, but he did a really good job. He nearly got Rizwan out. Dave Warner running back nearly took an incredible catch. So that fifth bowler they've been able to get away with that really well, because Mitchell Marsh, he's not a part-time bowler either. He's a quality. He's bowled a lot. He's a genuine all-rounder. When he's fit, he's a genuine all-rounder in Test cricket in all formats. So it's not like they're trying to put together bits and pieces bowler to be able to be that fifth bowler. So Australia have done very well with their selection in that regard. And then the power batting at the back, that was always my question. Not Marcus Stoinis, but more so Matthew Wade and the depth of Australia's batting lineup. But gosh, they answered all the questions last night.
We come now to the Aussie batting. We had discussed about it, the incoming ball, and that was the ball I was worried about for Finch. And that ball almost got 2 wickets, that thankfully to the umpire's call. Otherwise, Mitchell Marsh also would have been back in the pavilion.
Yeah, that's right. Shane Watson, the incredible thing about him is just how accurate he is with that, like within that first over. Like that is a rare skill because not every bowler can get it exactly on the money with the ball swinging late. So to be able to get your line right and your length right, to be able to capitalize on that ball swinging late is an incredible skill. And to be able to line up Aaron Finch, first ball that he faced, gosh, it swung in late. And then, yeah, the rub of the green in that regard went to Mitchell Marsh and the Australians, because that could have been as umpires call, whether it was hitting in line and then hitting leg stump. So Mitchell Marsh got very lucky, and I think he's got he'd have a pretty sore foot because that one smashed into his toes. You see him limping a bit after that ball. But yeah, that Shane Watson, it's incredible to watch a fast bowler at his peak. It's just like the energy in the stadium was just, yes, there was 99.9% Pakistan fans and it was nearly full in the Dubai stadium, but the energy that it creates when you see a world-class fast bowler steaming in the ball, moving around, it's so electric. It's super cool to be able to be a part of.
And what Australia did, in spite of losing Aaron Finch early, as you mentioned about Mitchell Marsh as well as Warner, they kept the run rate. They never made Pakistan, the run rate get out of them. They were attacking and taking use of the power play. And credit to Warner, like he looked in absolute awesome form.
Yeah, Dave Warner's, you could see that West Indies game, the previous game that he played, he was at that innings was him at his best. He batted
against Sri Lanka. He came into form.
Well, yeah, he batted not bad. He batted like well there, and he came into form. But then even against Bangladesh, you could see him overhitting the ball, and he wasn't really just in his groove. And then it all just came together perfectly against the West Indies, where you could tell from ball one he was right at his best, not premeditating, not trying to overhit the ball. And that's exactly what he brought into the game last night against Pakistan. World-class bowlers, whereas Imad Wazim, he's brilliant in the power play. Shane Watson and Dave Warner, he's an incredible batsman across all formats. And he bought it last night when the Australians needed it. To be able to counterpunch against world-class bowling like he did, as you said, Anis, to be able to keep the run rate up even while they lost an early wicket against their best bowlers was absolutely brilliant. And that just shows the class of Dave Warner in a knockout game. He's been a part of the Australians winning titles and big titles in the past, and he knows when to turn it on, and he turned it on last night.
And when you saw Mitchell Marsh getting out, you saw Steven Smith. I was under the impression that he would probably rotate the strike, but he also wanted to attack the leg spinner.
Yeah, Steve Smith had to. Like he came in at that time. He came in just as the power play finished, and I thought at that time Glenn Maxwell could have come in. That was like it could have been the perfect time to come in. So, and Steve Smith would have known that deep down. You could see that's why for him to take a big shot like that on, it was his sixth ball. Steve Smith normally probably wouldn't do that, but he knew with Glenn Maxwell still like waiting behind him, he couldn't just come in and knock it around. He had to take the game on. And all credit to Shadab Khan. He was brilliant. Shadab Khan, there's only one ball that I can remember where he got it slightly wrong. He bowled a little bit full to Dave Warner and he slog swept him for 6. But outside of that one ball, Shadab Khan, every ball that he bowled was absolutely executed perfectly. His top spinner that he bowled to Mitch Marsh and Steven Smith, the right length, the right pace, the right trajectory to drag him into that shot and then be too good to beat them with a bouncing, a little bit of overspin, was brilliant. And he knew that Steve Smith, he had to go. Steve Smith had to keep going because the run rate was still pretty high. And Steve Smith had to go knowing that Glenn Maxwell was sitting on the bench waiting to come in and was going to take the game on.
At 96 for 5, when Maxwell fent for the reverse sweep, you felt it was all over?
No, I didn't think it was all over, but I was nervous. I was definitely more nervous because Marcus Stoinis hasn't really batted much in this tournament. Matthew Wade, he hasn't been a finisher. He hasn't finished a game really in cricket that he's played. He's got incredible skill, but he hasn't finished a game in a pressure situation before. So yeah, I was definitely nervous, and I didn't know at that time. I didn't know exactly where the Australians were going to get those runs, those 80 odd runs that they needed. I just didn't know exactly where they were going to get them, but they found them.
And they got it with 1 over to spare. But let me come to that over where it all started. You know, there was drama all around, but so many runouts missed by Pakistan. First, it was Matthew Wade, where Shadab missed a run out. Then Shaheen Shah Afridi missing Stoinis' run out. And then the catch of Hassan Ali. Poor guy, he's all been trolled all over Pakistan. You know, he was already under the scanner for not bowling well. And when you have that bad match, the ball keeps following you.
It does, yeah, unfortunately. Hassan Ali, he was, and look, when he's at his absolute best, he's a very good bowler and very skilled bowler. But if he gets it slightly wrong because of his skiddy sort of pace, he can be hurt. He can be taken down. And the Australians knew that, especially trying to take down Harris Ralph, Shaheen Shah Afridi, or Hassan Ali. They're always going to more so target Hassan Ali. And it is bizarre how the cricket works, that if you don't have your best day, and then for whatever reason the ball just follows you. And absolutely, like I was excited that he dropped the catch from Australian perspective, but then immediately it just goes to, oh, you really feel sorry for him, because it is a worst feeling in cricket to drop a catch. No one means to drop a catch. He's a really good fielder, and he's taken a lot of great catches in the past. But that moment, you knew straight away that, well, that could be it. That could have been the chance to be able to win the game, get rid of Matthew Wade. And unfortunately, Hassan Ali, he dropped the catch. And you just really feel for him, knowing what people are going to be saying, knowing that people can put a lot of blame onto someone just for one moment, not for all the other moments. That's just the one thing that stood out. But for me, the leadership qualities of Shoaib Malik to be able to run up to Hassan Ali, like go from mid-on, which is a decent run, it's probably like a 50-meter run, to go to Hassan Ali just to be able to console him and just like say some words of encouragement to go, come on, we're still in this game, showed the class of Shoaib Malik. And that's what a team sport's all about, is when your mate's down, and Hassan Ali would have been feeling like he just wanted to dig himself into a hole and cover himself up. Shoaib Malik just came over to him and gave him the encouragement he needed.
Oh, yes, that was fantastic on part of Shoaib Malik. And then the 3 balls, you know, because Shaheen Shah Afridi was bowling so fast. Now, sometimes the shots come out, sometimes the shots don't come off. It looks silly when you get bowled playing such shot, but I believe he used his pace and hit those 6s.
Yeah, to be able to, for Matthew Wade to have that commitment, that was my shot, because it's a premeditated shot. And then to go, you know what? It's my best option right now, and I'm going to commit to it 100%. I'm not just going to go, oh, should I do it? Shouldn't I? He fully committed to that shot. 150 Ks, you have to be fully committed. Otherwise, 1, you can get hurt, and 2, you can make an error and get out at a bad time. And Matthew Wade committed to it brilliantly. That was probably the main way where he's going to be able to score runs off Shaheen Shah Afridi. Because of his pace, he knew he was mainly trying to bowl in at leg stump. With his angle from over the wicket into Matthew Wade, he knew that his chance was to be able to use his angle and try and make the most of that angle. And brilliant to be able to get in that position, then find the middle of the bat. Those 2 balls went for 6. Yes, because of the speed, but also the position he was in to be able to get the ball out of the middle of his bat as well. So to be able to do that under pressure and hold your nerve and fully commit to that, to those shots, absolutely outrageous batting, and just shows the courage that he showed.
Anything Pakistan or Shaheen Shah Afridi or Babar Azam could have done differently to make sure that they, take this win? Because it was all Pakistan. It felt like Pakistan all over Australia, but Australia somehow find a way to get through this match.
Look, the only thing that I think that maybe they could have done differently or tried differently was maybe Shaheen Shah Afridi coming around the wicket and bowling in it, sort of having a different angle, like changing the angle, because he's coming around the wicket and to be still fading the ball into Matthew Wade. And it was like that with Chris Jordan the night before when he's bowling to Jimmy Neesham, that big over Jimmy Neesham took Chris Jordan down. He came around the wicket. So the ball was angling into Jimmy Neesham's arc from around the wicket. And as soon as there was only until the last ball when Chris Jordan moved over the wicket and then tried to beat him on the outside by fading it across him. And so Shane Shafridi may be the only thing, but he's going to back his best ball to be able to get his Yorker from over the wicket. Obviously, that's what he's most comfortable to feel under pressure. That is my best ball from over the wicket to be able to execute my ball. And he went with it. And Matthew Wade was just had the shots, had the skill at the right time to be able to try and capitalize on just that angle. And no one really else in Australia has that shot apart from really Glenn Maxwell. No one else plays that shot like that. So Matthew Wade was just the right person, the right time for the Aussies.
Well, that's what Shane Watson says. What a match we had at the Dubai Stadium yesterday night. And I'm sure all the Australians and all the cricket lovers would have enjoyed. One team had to win, the other had to lose. Finally, you have to say cricket has been the winner. It was played in the highest spirit. And I'm sure everybody would love to watch this match again and again. And the Pakistani fans might be disappointed, but I'm sure they will hold their heads high because they played fantastic cricket throughout the tournament. Watto?
Pakistan were absolutely outstanding. They are a complete T20 team. And it was really a privilege to be able to watch such a great T20 team strut their stuff on the world stage against the world's best teams. They were absolutely brilliant. To be able to see how all the pieces really came together and they just didn't get across the line, unfortunately for them, because they were so dominant during the tournament. To have the openers setting the platform and then the power through the middle and at the end with Shoaib Malik and Hafiz and Asif Ali, and the balance of their bowling lineup, it's an incredible bowling lineup. They've got so much variation. Again, the only person who, if he's not at his best, Hassan Ali, he can go for runs. But Imad Wazim bowling in the power play, just a combination of all their bowlers is just, honestly, it is a brilliant T20 team, and they're going to continue to, I think, dominate world cricket for quite a while if they're able to keep that whole group together, because gosh, they were so dominant. Unfortunately, the first game they lost was a knockout semi-final.
All right. So we have the Tasmanian rivals, New Zealand and Australia, going to lock horns on Sunday. We're going to catch up with the great Shane Watson tomorrow to discuss how this match is going to pan out. And we all know what is Shane Watson going to say, who's going to be the winner. But we'll wait for that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands up for one and only Shane Watson. Thank you, Shane.
Pleasure, and it's great to chat to you as always.
Take care. Have a great day.
Mate. You too.